I am Chizuko Omori, generally known as Chizu. I'm 94 years old right now. I uh, was 12 at the time of the incarceration and came out at 15. So I spent 3.5 years in a camp. Well, I've been kind of a social activist. Actually, I started out with civil rights and the Vietnam War, but I got very heavily involved with our Japanese American history when redress started. What fascinates me is that I've been interested in it for so long that I'm still learning new stuff about it. And I just feel like it was really much worse than most, people realized. When I learned that there were at least 150 different sites where people were held, I really felt like, how come we don't know about all of these different places? Who were sent there for how long? And, all these things. So these questions keep coming up. And so it has certainly captured my interest, for all these years. And another question that has bothered me is why were we so silent for so long, talking about it really openly and candidly? It seemed to me like I think a lot of us survivors say, or people who experienced it, had a lot of anger that they just held back for a long time for many different reasons. But then I would like to explore many of the reasons why we held back on it, talking about it. So those are kind of like the questions that have interested me in the last few years. I grew up on a farm, and it was sort of like a little Japanese village that I grew up in. This was in Oceanside, California. My father was Issei, my mother was Kibei, and I certainly knew a lot of Issei as a child. And so that I think one of the areas that there isn't too much study done on is the role of the Issei within our communities, and also how the fact that they had non-citizen status made them victims and targets by the government. So one generation practically lost everything they had worked for their whole lives and were reduced to, poverty when the war had ended. So I feel that younger people need to understand that one generation was particularly hard hit by the incarceration. And also, I mean, people who were very Americanized, that is, those who really took it seriously, like, hey, we're citizens and we're supposed to have these rights. Why are they doing this to us? And some of them who were very strong in their feelings, they also suffered a lot because they were often labeled disloyal just because they were questioning what was being done to us. And so those are people also that we need to understand more about. Those who became no-nos, renunciants, draft resistors, all kinds of dissidents. I can only say that I think our whole community was put into a no-win situation. And so whatever you decided to do was really detrimental to yourself in some way or other. That's just the way it worked out. I used to call it the big picture and the little picture. The little picture is people's immediate, or, like, oh, well, I was in this camp, and, they know about that kind of stuff. But the big overall picture is elusive generally because, first of all, it's a complicated history. And secondly, the government wanted to hide a lot of stuff too. So a lot of it has not been readily available. So we've just been accumulating information over all these years, and it keeps changing in a sense. I mean, history is like that, as everybody knows. We keep learning new stuff, or new documents surface, or somebody tells something that they'd never told anybody before. That kind of thing keeps happening. It's hard to piece together for the ordinary person or the average person. I'm hoping that you can get a better overall picture from having something like a conference like this. Now, we can't, say that we're going to fill in all the blanks and cover everything, but this is a start for me, I think, I would really like to have younger people understand that this was a really terrible, traumatic event that happened to our community, that the things that the government, their policies and all did was took this group of people and forced them to make choices that affected their families and themselves, for their lifetimes, that were totally unfair, undemocratic, illegal, all these things. That the government would do something like this to us is really shocking when you look at the details. Really is. It's just sort of like I've always been aware, oh man, they can do this anytime. And actually looking at the political scene today as we speak, it seems that the government, or people within the government can do all kinds of things that seem illegal or not according to the rules as we understand them, that they can just go ahead and bulldoze understandings that we've had, like the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and stuff, they can be easily overrun. And that's a frightening prospect. It definitely is. It was for us and can be easily again. I hope that people are aware of those things, that the government is pretty powerful in the wrong hands.